What's going on, guys and girls? This is Chip Avenger with Fight Breakdown. I'm going to talk about, preview, and offer predictions for every single fight on UFC 264, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 3. Great card. I'm excited about this one. There's 13 fights on this card. I'm going to go through every one of them. I will time step all my previews underneath. If you guys want to look at that, if there's a fight that you're really interested in, you want to see what my thoughts are, then you can know exactly when I talked about that fight. So I will timestamp those. Great card, a lot of fun fights, a lot of tough fights to call. We're going to get into this real quick. First fight of the night, early prelims. Yaozong versus Amedovski. Yaozong, 3-2 overall. Amedovski, 8-2 overall. This is one of those fights that's interesting because you wonder, like, how is a 3-2 guy in the UFC? He was 3-0 when he entered the UFC. His win total for the guys he beat at 3-0 were 2-4. His opponents were 2-4. So, again, you wonder how he gets into the UFC. Well, I can tell you how he got in the UFC. He got in the UFC because there is a fight card in China, and Cyril Asker had an opponent that fell out. They needed an opponent for him. They called up Yaozong. Yaozong took the fight. That was at heavyweight. Yaozong got finished 2 minutes and 33 seconds into the second round. Yaozong was a much smaller guy in that fight. Cyril Asker was a much bigger guy. It made sense as to why he got finished there. No disrespect to Yaozong on that. That makes sense. Second fight that Yaozong had in the UFC, I'll pull it up real quick, was against Rashad Coulter. Rashad Coulter is also a big guy. That fight was at light heavyweight. And still, I mean, look at this. Yaozong's only 26 years old right now. That last fight he had against Rashad Coulter, that was November 2018. That was coming around on 3 years ago. Like, Yaozong's still a young guy. He was a very young guy back then. I mean, you're talking about almost 3 years ago. He was, 23, 24 at that time. When he lost to Cyril Asker, he was like 22. 185 middleweight is the appropriate weight class for Yaozong. He's tall for the weight class. He's 6'3". He's never been finished in his career. He's got his first 3 fights he got finishes. I mean, against subpar competition, but he got finishes in those fights. He fought really big dudes, didn't get finished. So you look at this and you say, oh, 3-2, okay, it makes sense as to why that he's, and as far as Draftkings is concerned, he's only 7,200. Makes sense as to why that Amedovski's 9,000 on DraftKings. But when you delve into it a little bit more, you start seeing why the line doesn't match that. Obviously, the line was much larger when this first came out. A lot of money came on Yaozong, and it makes sense. Right now, we're sitting at minus 140 for Amedovski. We're sitting at plus 20 for Yaozong. That does not match up with what we have in DraftKings for their price total. Just to give you guys an idea, if you look up here, Tuivasa, minus 140, plus 120, the same money line for Yaozong versus Amedovski, right? But Tuivasa is at 8,400 in DraftKings. Greg Hardy's at 7,800 in DraftKings. So that's really where this fight should be, right? Not at 9,000 and 7,200. So, if you're playing DraftKings, take Yaozong. I like Yaozong in this fight. He's never been finished. Amedovski, every single one of his 8 wins are by finish. He's going to be the smaller man here. I don't think he can finish Yaozong. And even the Ryan Coulter fight for Yaozong, he fought at 205. Ryan Coulter's a big dude. He didn't get finished. That went to unanimous decision. And Yaozong, he did some good stuff striking. He scored over 50 points in DraftKings in a loss. I think he gets this win. I think he beats Amedovski. Whoever loses this fight is out of the UFC for now. So this is an elimination bout. Make no bones about that. They both know that going into this fight. They both need this fight. But I favor Yaozong. When I originally looked at this, I saw 3-2 and 8-2. I saw 9,000 in DraftKings versus 7,200 in DraftKings, and I thought Amedovski's going to win this fight. I looked at it more, and I look at it and I say, hey, Yaozong's probably going to win this fight. Great opportunity, guys. If you play DraftKings, take Yaozong. I mean, this is a dog or pass for me. I'm going to take Yaozong. I think Yaozong gets it done. I think Yaozong might actually finish Amedovski. Amedovski's last fight, he got finished in 14 seconds against a guy who's not great. I think Yaozong's a bigger fighter. He's fighting at his appropriate weight class for this fight. He's had some time off. He's really probably worked on his game. He was a decent striker before that. Amedovski, you know, he's okay. I think Yaozong gets this done, guys. Take Yaozong. Yaozong's is a great underdog pick here in this first fight. I'm going to move on. Second fight of the card, early prelims. Zhumagulov. I just butchered that last name, but that's okay. Zhumagulov against Jerome Rivera. This is a strange fight because you look at it and you say, okay, 5'4 versus 5'10, 66.5 inch reach versus 72.5 inch reach. Jerome Rivera is a southpaw. Makes him a little strange. It's hard to really prepare for that sometimes. You know, when you have a longer guy who's a southpaw and you're more naturally an orthodox fighter. Zhumagulov fights. He does switch. He switches a lot, but you know, I think naturally he's more of a orthodox fighter. So you think, well, maybe Rivera has a shot. I like Zhumagulov here. Neither one of these guys has a win in the UFC. If you look at their histories, Zalgas is 0-2 in the UFC. He's lost a couple decisions. Rivera has also lost multiple fights in the UFC. He's sitting at 0-3 in the UFC with 2 of them by knockout. He got knocked out by Ode Osborne. He got knocked out by Tyson Nam. Both those guys have some power, so okay. He got a unanimous decision loss against Francisco Figueiredo, not Davidson Figueiredo. So if you're looking at that, it's Francisco. I think Zhumagulov gets this done. I think Zalgas gets this done. I think he's a better striker. He's more crisp. This is a win for Zhumagulov. I think he wins this fight, and I pronounce his last name differently like every single time I've spoken it, but that's okay. Zalgas is going to get this win. I think he wins this fight probably by decision, probably by unanimous decision. There's a reason he's a big favorite, and he is a big favorite in this fight. He's minus 360. Rivera's plus 280. I think Zalgas gets this done. 9,300 to 6,900 on DraftKings. I probably wouldn't take Zalgas in this on DraftKings because he probably wins the decision. He might score decent numbers, but man, that's a lot of money. He's the second biggest favorite in DraftKings on the card. And if you take him, he has to score plus 100. And I don't know if he can do that. I think he does get the win, though. Moving on. Next fight on the early prelims. Akhmedov versus Brad Tavares. Look at this. Akhmedov, 6 foot, 73 inch reach. Brad Tavares, 6'1", 74 inch reach. This is an interesting fight because Akhmedov is going to try to get this to the ground. Brad Tavares has fantastic takedown defense. The people who have beaten Tavares are either fantastic, really great wrestlers who can actually get him to the ground, which Akhmedov's a good wrestler, but he's not good enough to get Tavares to the ground, or they're absolutely world-class strikers, and Akhmedov is not that. I think Akhmedov tries to get this ground over and over again. I think Tavares stuffs a lot of his takedowns. I think Tavares ends up winning the striking exchanges, and I think Tavares wins a decision over Akhmedov. The problem with this, if you're betting this for DraftKings, is Tavares, he's $8,600. Akhmedov is $7,600. I could see people maybe taking Akhmedov in DraftKings. Maybe he gets the win. Neither one of these guys, they're not going to score great in DraftKings. Tavares isn't going to score great because Akhmedov's going to make this a grinding, grueling fight. Tavares isn't going to have a ton of significant strikes. He's going to do enough to get the win, I think. But Tavares, if you look at his wins, 4 of his 5 decision wins scored in the 50s. In the 50s, guys. That's not good for DraftKings. He gets this win. Tavares wins this fight. But I don't think he scores enough to be worth taking in DraftKings. So, give me Tavares, but I'm not taking him in DraftKings. Next fight, last fight on the early prelims, Jennifer Maia versus Jessica Eye. A similar thing to Tavares and Akhmedov. Jennifer Maia probably wins this fight. Probably going to go to decision. Jessica I typically goes to a decision. She has some decent wins. She doesn't score well on DraftKings. Jennifer Maia, a lot of times wins by decision. She probably is going to win this fight by decision. But again, does not score well on DraftKings. Jennifer Maia is $8,800 on DraftKings. Jessica I is $7,400. Jessica I's wins, she averages less than 70 points per win in the UFC by decision. All of her losses are by decision. This fight will likely, very likely, go to a decision. When you look at that, Jennifer Maia averages about 66 points per decision win. So if you're thinking about that, Jennifer Maia probably wins this fight by decision and doesn't score enough to justify $8,800 on DraftKings. Give me Jennifer Maia for the win. She's minus 200, favorite in this fight. I think that makes sense. I think Jennifer Maia should be the favorite. I think she will probably win this fight. Wouldn't surprise me if Jessica I won this fight. If she does, it's by decision. Either way, they're not going to score a lot on DraftKings. I don't like this fight. I'm staying away from it on DraftKings. I wouldn't bet it either way, whether you're betting the money line, whether you're betting whatever. If you're going to bet anything, probably to go to decision, but give me Jennifer Maia to win by decision and probably score like 70 points on DraftKings. I don't love it. Staying away from it. I do like Jennifer Maia to win that fight, though. Moving forward into the prelims, we have Trevin Giles versus Dricus du Plessis. Interesting fight here. Both these guys are good. Trevin Giles, I like Trevin Giles. He's 14-2. He's a good wrestler. He's a pretty good striker. Du Plessis is 15-2. He's good. He's well rounded. He's fought kind of on the regional circuit, but he's fought in big regional promotions. He's fought in EFC, right? He's fought KSW. He's fought really good competition. 15-2. The interesting thing to note about this, they're both minus 110. This is an absolute coin flip according to Vegas. This is, who knows who's going to win this fight. It could go either way. Du Plessis is more expensive in DraftKings by a little bit. If you look at this, Du Plessis is 8,200, Giles is 8,000. What I would tell you is typically when you have that, if you have the lines that don't match up, you take the guy who's the underdog in DraftKings because it makes sense to do it. I would tell you that I'm taking Du Plessis in this, even though he's more expensive and the money line's equal. The reason I say this is that I think Du Plessis finds a way to get this done. I think he probably wins. I think he wins a submission win because Du Plessis' 17 professional fights, every single one of them has ended in a finish. He has not gone to a decision. 15 wins by finish. 2 losses by finish. And those fights he lost were against tough competition. 9 of his 15 victories were by submission. Trevin Giles' 2 losses, guillotine, submission. A lot of Du Plessis has some submission attacks. He's really good. I think he catches Trevin Giles at some point. I think Trevin Giles tries to get to this ground and he doesn't quite get it to the ground. And I think Du Plessis catches him with a submission. I think Du Plessis wins this fight by submission. I think he's a good play on DraftKings, $8,200. It's worth the money. Again, every single one of his fights doesn't go to decision. Every single one of his fights has gone to a finish, and 9 of them by submission. Du Plessis can absolutely submit you. Trevin Giles, his only 2 losses are by submission. Give me Du Plessis by submission in this fight. I think he scores well on DraftKings. I think he does well. And his one win in UFC was against Marcus Perez, who is a really good black belt Brazilian, and Du Plessis knocked him out. So if you can't get him to the ground, he knocks you out. If you find a way to try to get, a takedown on him or try to get your neck in there to take him down, which Trevin Giles has left his neck out there a little bit, Du Plessis will take your freaking neck and choke you. I think that's what happens in this fight. I like Du Plessis. Give me Du Plessis for the submission win in this one. But a good fight. I like Giles too. Giles is a good fighter, and I think he's a live underdog because he's 8,000 on DraftKings. But give me Du Plessis. Next fight, Ryan Hall versus Ilia Topuria. I could see people wanting to take Ryan Hall in here. Ryan Hall is 4-0 in the UFC. Ryan Hall has 3 decision wins and a submission win. Ryan Hall is fun to watch. He goes for Iminyari rolls. He tries to take your leg. He does all this weird stuff. He's a great submission guy. And because people are so afraid of him taking them down, then he ends up punching them in the face because they're so concerned with him taking them down. Topuria is a rising star, guys. Topuria is fantastic. His top control is really good. He's a great grappler. Topuria, there's a reason he's a minus 230 favorite in this fight. He is a rising star. He's 10-0. I think he gets this done. He might get the finish here. Whether he wins by decision or finish, I think he's going to score really well, especially with the top control time they've added to DraftKings scoring. Give me Topuria. He's $9,100. Ryan Hall is $7,100 on DraftKings. And if you see a guy who's 4-0 and only $7,100 on DraftKings, you want to take it. So I think people might take Ryan Hall. But I would tell you, that's a little bit of fool's gold right here. Because Topuria he's going to be a guy who could challenge for a title in the future. He is that good. He's fantastic. I think he wins this fight. He might get a finish here, guys. I think either way, he's going to score 100-plus points. Give me Topuria. Next fight, prelims. Nico Price versus Michel Pereira. This is a really, really fun fight. You know, we all love Nico Price. He's a fun fighter. He does unorthodox, crazy stuff. He knocked out Randy Brown from the ground. We remember that. He was on the bottom. He knocked out Randy Brown. He upkicked James Vick, knocked him out. He does some fun stuff. His last fight, he got a majority draw against Donald Cerrone. He should have won that fight. I thought he was going to knock out Cerrone. Cerrone's been being knocked out by everybody at this point. Cerrone, I love Cerrone, but he's at the end of his career. Price has a lot of power. That was a fight you would think Price would win by knockout, and he didn't get it done. He eye-poked Cerrone a bunch, got a point taken. That's why he ended up getting a draw. He should have won that fight, but he didn't look great. Michel Pereira is massive for this weight class. Like, he's a huge, huge dude. He fought Chaos Williams, won a decision in that one. Chaos Williams is a big 170. Pereira looked noticeably bigger than Chaos Williams. And if you look at Pereira, he's done some weird stuff. He had a fight against Tristan Connolly in Canada. Tristan Connolly was a short notice replacement. It was Canadian card. They brought Connolly in. Connolly was fighting up a weight class. He normally fights at 155. He fought at 170 against Pereira. Pereira fought a really dumb fight. He was doing backflips, doing all kinds of crazy stuff in the first round. You might have seen the highlights of this fight. You might have seen this fight. Tristan Connolly weathered that early storm. Pereira gassed himself out by doing a lot of silly stuff, and Connolly won a decision in that fight. Since then, Pereira's kind of figured it out, man. He's fighting a lot smarter. He's doing what he should do to win fights. He had the illegal knee loss to Sanchez. He was winning that fight. He should have beat Diego Sanchez. But he's been great since then. That unanimous decision, if you look at both these guys' last fight, Nico Price, yeah, he probably would have won a decision if he hadn't had the eye pokes against Donald Cerrone. But again, I mean, probably should have knocked Cerrone out realistically. And then you have Chaos Williams, who's a power puncher, a heavy hitter, and Pereira controlled that fight with his striking. He was fantastic in that fight. He won that fight. Give me Pereira in this fight. I think Pereira finishes Nico Price. I think he gets a knockout win in this fight. I think he's going to score big points on DraftKings. If you guys play DraftKings, $8,900 Pereira, I think is a great price. A little expensive, but I think he scores a lot in this fight. I think he knocks out Nico Price. I think he gets it done. And I think he's worth the $8,900. If you want to play Nico Price for $7,300 as a dog, I can see that. You never know with Nico Price. He might catch him. He might catch him with something crazy. That's what Nico Price does. But I think at this point, Pereira has learned his lesson. He's a more seasoned fighter. He's smarter now. He's changed camps. He knows what he's doing. He's going to have a good game plan. He's going to win this fight. I think give me Pereira by knockout. Pereira's an absolute monster. This should be a win for Pereira. Moving up, Max Griffin versus Carlos Condit. This is the main event of the prelims, guys. This is a great fight. I really, really, really wanted to take Condit in this fight. I like Condit. He's 37 years old. Max Griffin's 34. Condit 6'2", 75.5-inch reach. Max Griffin's 5'11", has a massive 76-inch reach for 5'11". That's crazy. They're both orthodox fighters. This is a tough fight to call. Max Griffin's a minus 190 favorite. Carlos Condit plus 160 on the comeback. You know, Carlos Condit has recent wins over Matt Brown. He has a recent win over Court McGee. Both those guys are older guys, but they just got some impressive wins too. You know, Matt Brown just beat Diego Lima. Court McGee just had a good win. So I really want to take Condit. I was looking at this deep. I just think Max Griffin gets this done. I think he wrestles Carlos Condit. I think he does enough to grind out a victory by decision. I would not take this in DraftKings. To me, this is dog or pass. Take Condit if you're doing DraftKings, or take neither. I think Griffin gets this done by decision. But even that, at his price, $8,700, I mean, I don't love that for DraftKings, guys. So Griffin by decision, not worth it on DraftKings. Maybe take a flyer on Condit. If you're doing multiple lineups, you never know. Condit might get this W, but give me Griffin as far as the win is concerned. Moving to the main card. I'm not going to talk about this one too much, guys. We got Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean O'Malley, 5'11", 72-inch reach. Just extremely tall for this weight class, fighting at 135. He gets a short notice replacement for Luis Smoka. Smoka had to bow out of this fight. They bring up Chris Moutinho. Good on Moutinho for getting this fight. You know, like, of course you take this opportunity. You're fighting on the main card of Poirier versus McGregor 3 on a pay-per-view. You absolutely take this fight. Sean O'Malley's going to knock him out. Chris Moutinho in his last 4 fights, he's been knocked out twice in the last 4 fights on the regional scene. Big step up in competition here. Sean O'Malley knocks out Chris Moutinho. Minus 800, massive favorite for O'Malley here, and it makes sense. He's $9,500 on DraftKings. If you can sneak him into one of your plays, you know, maybe you have Yaozong and you get O'Malley in the same card or same lineup, makes some sense. O'Malley is going to get a knockout. He's probably going to score plus 100 points. You know, not a lot to say about this one, but give me O'Malley for a knockout on that one. Moving up, Irene Aldana versus Yana Kunitskaya. This is a tough fight to call, guys. Aldana's minus 120. The money line for the comeback on Kunitskaya is plus 100. This is a close fight according to Vegas, and it's a close fight according to any way you want to look at it, to be honest with you. On DraftKings, it's the same thing, right? Aldana's 8,300, Kunitskaya is 7,900. It matches pretty closely to what the money line is on for both these ladies. Aldana's taller, has slightly more reach. She, quite frankly, is a little bit better striker. Kunitskaya is a good striker. She has decent wrestling. Aldana's a big girl. I don't think she's going to take Aldana down. I think this fight stays standing. Aldana has more power. Kunitskaya has been knocked out a couple times. One of her knockouts was against Chris Cyborg, which, I mean, hey, you get knocked out by Chris Cyborg, that's completely understandable. I'm not holding that against Kunitskaya, but give me Aldana. I think she could knock Kunitskaya out in this fight. I like Aldana for DraftKings. I like Aldana for this fight. I think she's going to get it done. I think she either wins a knockout or unanimous decision. I think she scores well. She usually scores pretty well. She's very active. The good thing about this fight, guys, is that if you take Kunitskaya for the underdog here at $7,900 in DraftKings, they're both very active. Whoever wins this fight is probably going to score well. It's going to be a lot of activity. They both throw a lot. They both come after it. They're going to come after it. Aldana is going to be very active. I mean, if you look at their significant strides landed per minute, you 5.52 for Aldana. That's fantastic. 4.22 for Kunitskaya. That's good. I mean, there's going to be a lot of activity. Whoever wins this fight is going to score well. Give me Aldana. I think Aldana gets it done. I think she wins this fight. She might get it done by knockout. Either way, I think Aldana wins this fight, and I think she scores well for DraftKings. $8,300 is worth the play. I can see if you want to take a flyer on Kunitskaya, just like Condit, and maybe take the chance on that. But give me Aldana. I think Aldana gets it done. Next fight, moving up, Tai Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy. This is an interesting fight because I think a lot of people will go with Greg Hardy here on DraftKings because he has some power. He's a big, strong freaking dude. He's athletic. I get it. fights out of orthodox stance. He has a really, really long reach. He's tall. So you look at some of these numbers and you think, okay, maybe Greg Hardy gets this done. Maybe he knocks out Tai Tuivasa. He's longer than Tai Tuivasa. He's taller than Tai Tuivasa. He has, according to this, more significant strikes landed per minute. But when you look deeper into this, Tai Tuivasa's fought better competition. Tai Tuivasa is a better fighter. He's more skilled. If you look at what Tai Tuivasa's done, the guys he's lost against are really good. Junior Dos Santos, 2018 he got knocked out by Junior Dos Santos. That was back when Junior Dos Santos was coming up again. He was trying to make a run at the title again. He's an older guy. He's kind of, that age has caught up to him at this point, but there's no shame in getting knocked out by Junior Dos Santos, especially almost 3 years ago. Then he lost a decision to Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy Ivanov was the world Sambo champion. He beat Fedor in Sambo. He's fantastic. He's a great fighter. He was the World Series of Fighting champion. Blagoy Ivanov is really good. They went to a decision. Blagoy Ivanov has a great chin, doesn't get knocked out, hits hard, fantastic grappler. There's no shame at all losing a decision of Ivanov. And then Tai Tuivasa lost to Sergey Spivak with a triangle, an arm triangle. Is Greg Hardy going to submit Tuivasa? Absolutely not. There's no way he submits Tai Tuivasa. Then Tuivasa gets a first-round knockout against Struve. He gets a first-round knockout of Hunsucker. Tuivasa is a better fighter than Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's a great athlete. I get it. He's taller. He's longer. I just don't see him beating Tai Tuivasa. Tuivasa is a lot more fluid of a striker. This fight stays standing. I think Tuivasa wins this fight. He's going to do it with his striking. You look at Greg Hardy, the guys he's beat, Maurice Green, tall, not explosive, not just kind of slow, plodding fighter. Okay, Greg Hardy beats him by finish. That makes sense. Yorgan De Castro. Greg Hardy was massive compared to De Castro. Greg Hardy was much bigger than De Castro. He wins a decision. Juan Adams. He knocks out Juan Adams. Juan Adams, very much like Maurice Green, tall, plodding, not super athletic, not explosive. Great matchup. Great matchup for Greg Hardy. Tai Tuivasa is not that guy. Tai Tuivasa's smooth. He's a very fluid striker. He's a very athletic guy for his size. He's a very good mixed martial artist. Greg Hardy's still trying to figure it out. If you watch Greg Hardy fight, watch his striking, he still muscles punches. It's not fluid. It's not smooth. He's not just flowing. He muscles everything still, and I don't think that's going to work against Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa's too good. Give me Tai Tuivasa. I think he might actually knock out Greg Hardy. I think he gets it done. I like Tuivasa, especially at $8,400 in DraftKings. Give me Tuivasa. I think he gets it done here, guys. Moving up. Next fight. Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. This is fun. I like this one. Gilbert Burns just competed for the title. He just fought Usman. He got knocked out. Gilbert Burns, 5'10", 71-inch reach. Stephen Thompson, 6 foot tall, 75-inch reach, has a 4-inch reach advantage. Stephen Thompson's one of the best strikers in the world. He has that very bladed stance, that karate style. He's extremely difficult to get in on his legs. Gilbert Burns is going to have to get this fight to the ground if he wants to win this fight. He is not going to take Stephen Thompson's down. I don't see him taking Stephen Thompson down. I think Stephen Thompson keeps his standing. I think Stephen Thompson outstrikes Gilbert Burns. I think he actually gets a knockout here. Give me Stephen Thompson by knockout. Gilbert Burns has to get this to the ground, guys. I don't see how he does it. The guys who beat Stephen Thompson are either world-class grapplers, world-class wrestlers who can actually really get on you and take you down, or fantastic strikers. Gilbert Burns is a great jiu-jitsu guy, good wrestler, good striker. It's just a bad matchup for Gilbert Burns. Stephen Thompson has beat fantastic strikers. Is Gilbert Burns going to strike with Thompson? Thompson just beat Vicente Luque because it was a striking match, essentially. If you look at what Stephen Thompson has done recently, he's taller, he's longer than Gilbert Burns. Unanimous decision over Luque. Unanimous decision over Jeff Neal. They're both very good strikers. I mean, Luque is a fantastic striker. Thompson was better. I don't see how Gilbert Burns wins this fight unless he gets it down to the ground, and I don't see how he gets this down to the ground. I think Thompson wins this fight either by unanimous decision or he knocks out Gilbert Burns. Even these two fights, Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque, where Thompson won by decision, he scored very well in DraftKings. He scored 102.4 and 95.5 in those two fights, and he won by decision. He's going to touch up Gilbert Burns. If he doesn't knock him out, he's going to win a decision, and he's going to score well, especially $8,500. Give me Stephen Thompson. I think he's a great play in DraftKings. He gets this done, and he's going to score well. Moving on. Main event of the evening. This is what we've all been looking forward to. We have Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier, the trilogy. The first time these guys fought, Dustin Poirier was younger. 2014, guys. I mean, that was almost 7 years ago. Hot-headed, right? Conor McGregor did exactly what he wanted to do in this fight because he got in Poirier's head. He got him mad before the fight started. He made Poirier want to engage him in a firefight early. That's the last thing you want to do against McGregor. McGregor has a lot of power. We know this. Very explosive. A lot of fast twitch muscle. If you engage in a firefight with Conor McGregor early, you will get knocked out. I mean, that's the way that works. Poirier has a great chin. He got knocked out in that fight, but he hasn't been knocked out in 5 years. I mean, he's got a great chin. Poirier now is a better fighter than he was by far in 2014. He's a much more mature fighter. He understands game plan. He understands how to implement that game plan. He sticks with it. He's a great fighter. You look at what Poirier's done. He's fought the top of the top for the last 5 years, and he's beaten. You know, he lost to Khabib. Everyone loses Khabib. He beat Pettis. He had a war against Gaethje. Got his leg beat up in that fight. Got hit a bunch. His chin held up. He knocked out Gaethje. Had a slugfest against Alvarez. Knocked out Alvarez. He went 5 rounds with Holloway. Holloway's a great striker. Won a unanimous decision with that. He had a 5-round fight with Hooker. Outstruck Hooker. Won a unanimous decision there. And then he knocked out McGregor in the second round. McGregor hasn't been as active. I think Conor McGregor at this point in his career, he either has to knock out Poirier early or he loses this fight. What was the game plan for Poirier in that last fight? This was just January, guys. The game plan was be safe the first round, right? Use your wrestling some. He got a takedown against McGregor in the first round. He worked him against the cage, tried to tire out McGregor. McGregor again. Even if when McGregor is good, always going to be in good shape. It's not a conditioning issue with McGregor, but he's such a fast twitch athlete, which is why he has so much power, so explosive. No matter how good a shape he's in, he's going to wear down. Poirier knew that. He had a great game plan against McGregor. Don't engage in a firefight early. Be defensive. Beat up that lead leg of McGregor. 6 minutes into the fight, right? 1 minute into the second round, McGregor's lead leg, his right leg, he's southpaw, with that very bladed stance, was done. And Poirier clipped him, caught him, hurt him, immediately put McGregor against the fence and finished him. I hear people say, well, McGregor's been working to check that kick, to defend against that lead leg kick. Easier said than done. Both these guys are southpaws. And McGregor has a very bladed stance. So with that said, it's extremely difficult to check a low leg kick. When they fought in 2014, the low leg kick, the calf kick, really wasn't a huge part of MMA. Now it is. And Poirier's gotten really good at it. Masvidal is great at it. They come from the same camp, right? Poirier has implemented that. He's fantastic at it. He knows how to beat up that lead leg and the calf. They're both southpaws, which is important because that means Poirier can dig into that lead leg of McGregor with his strong leg. He can kick that lead leg, and it's very difficult to check that kick because it's coming from the outside. It's kicking the outside of the calf. If they were opposite side stances, then that kick's coming from the inside. and it's an inside calf kick, then Conor McGregor have a much better chance of checking that. It's hard to check that outside leg kick, that outside calf kick, especially when you're very bladed like McGregor. McGregor's not going to change his stance. You know, he's not going to change how he fights. I think what he will do in this fight, because the last fight when they fought in January, he just marched forward. He wanted to get in Poirier's face. He wanted a firefight. He knew he needed to try to force this into, engagement early so he can try to knock out Poirier. It kind of worked against him because Poirier held up, right? His chin held up. And what happened is when he was constantly in Poirier's face, not using distance, not using his in and out movement like he's very good at doing, he was in Poirier's face. His calf was there to get kicked. Poirier ate it up. 6 minutes into that fight, that calf was done. Conor McGregor couldn't move anymore. So Poirier took advantage and he clipped him, caught him, finished him. I think McGregor in this fight, he won't be able to check that kick. I just don't see him checking that kick. But I do think to mitigate that calf kick, that outside calf kick, he's going to use his ability to get in and out more. He's going to come into the pocket, get his strikes in and get out. He's not going to just stalk Poirier like he did the last fight, because that's just a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for exactly what happened last time. Your only chance to win that fight then is to get a first round knockout, and Poirier has a good chin. The problem with this is that I still see Poirier outlasting McGregor. What's the path to victory? McGregor needs to get an early knockout. He needs to win this fight by knockout either the first or second round. Poirier knows this. McGregor knows this. Poirier is going to play it safe. He's going to wrestle a little bit. He's going to be defensive. He's going to kick that calf as much as he can whenever he can. I think this fight goes longer than it did last time. I don't think it's a second round finish, but I think Poirier still gets the finish, and I think it's probably the third round. I think by then, if this fight gets past the second round, guys, it's Poirier's fight. I mean, think about the path to victory. Conor McGregor has to win this fight, I think, either first or second round knockout. If he doesn't do that, the longer this fight goes, it's Poirier's fight. When I look at this fight, they're both $8,100 on DraftKings, and when you have a path to victory that you have to get the finish early, or the other guy's going to win, I gotta take Poirier. I think Poirier is going to follow the same game plan. I don't see how McGregor counteracts that game plan, and unless he gets an early knockout, this is going to be Poirier's fight. I think Poirier gets the finish. I think he beats up that leg enough. I think McGregor mitigates some of that, but that only allows him to last to like the third round. Give me Poirier, third round finish. There is always the possibility of McGregor winning this fight early. If you look at the odds, it's interesting because early on there is more juice to McGregor. It was kind of a toss-up, but there was more juice to McGregor's side. A lot of money's coming in on Poirier. Poirier is now a minus 120, so he is a slight favorite in this fight at this point, because I think a lot of people, the people who are putting big money on this fight see the same things I see right here. McGregor has to get this done early. If he doesn't, Poirier is going to win this fight. Give me Poirier. I think this is going to be a finish for Poirier. I think it's going to be a big score for Poirier, especially on DraftKings. And he's cheap, $8,100. Now, if you guys play multiple lineups in DraftKings, like I do, I have some McGregor because he absolutely could get this done early. He could knock out Poirier, but Poirier hasn't been knocked out in 5 years. I like Poirier's chin. I like Poirier's maturity. I like what he's done to continue to get better and just be a fantastic, well-rounded, great fighter. Poirier's going to follow his game plan. I think he's going to protect his chin. I think he's going to beat up McGregor's leg. I think he gets it done probably in the third round. Guys, give me Poirier again for a finish, third round, and he's going to score big on DraftKings, $8,100. You got to have him in your lineup. If you play multiple lineups, hedge that bet a little bit with McGregor because he could knock out Poirier the first, second round. That could happen, obviously. But I like Poirier in this one. That's the card, guys. I wanted to go with more, you look at these fights, there's always 2, 3, 4 underdogs that win. I just had a hard time looking at each one of these fights individually and finding a lot of underdogs that I think are going to win. I like Yaozong at 7,200 in DraftKings. I think he actually gets it done. There's the other couple fights that I think the underdog could do it. Condit comes to mind. Otherwise, Giles could get it done against Plessis, but I like Plessis. Otherwise, I think this is a very chalky card. I think the favorites win most of these fights. This is going to be a fun card. Because of that, I think it's going to be we're going to see a lot of finishes. It's going to be a great fight card to watch, a lot of fun fights to watch. Leave comments. If you guys disagree with me, let me know. I'm happy to interact with you guys. And again, please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel. I plan on doing these for every card moving forward. And like the content as well. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. I'm excited for this card. We'll see you guys, and let's get this done. This is fun.